So why does Spanish people hate French so much? I think there is many reasons for that. Probably envy, which is one of the national sports of Spain. I'm not Spanish, but I lived there for 8 years. I'm not French, and I lived there also. So I know the cultures really well. I actually lived in 11 countries around the world. So I like to talk about cultures. It gets really, really interesting because that's in the end, we're languages, we're cultures, we do a lot of things, and again, humans are different, right? So in this video, I want to talk about why Spanish people hate French so much. What's the relationship with those two countries? Because they're playing today in a football match. And I'm going to also talk about how to do business with them, how to do relationships with them, what separates those two countries, what are they good at, what are they bad at, what do they secretly say about each other? Because I've been studying and I've been asking my French and Spanish friends. And also, I want to maybe talk about the match tonight because I'm super nervous about it. So maybe you'll see this later. But anyway, I just wanted to drop my opinions about it and see if it lands somewhere. So obviously, Spain and France have been neighbors for forever. They're just divided by this little line of 600 kilometers, which is the Pyrenees Mountains, which is just underneath France and above Spain. It's beautiful, beautiful mountain range. It starts from the Atlantic coast, which is the Bay of Biscay, and it ends into Mediterranean. And if you've never been in that mountain region, you definitely should check it out. It's so beautiful. It's absolutely incredible. And there's this one part where you can see both countries. It's spectacular. Anyway, so they've been divided by this mountain range, and geography plays a big role here because geographically, we as humans have always liked to be where we are contained by the geography, right? So the Pyrenees have separated these countries forever, and about 500 years ago, these two countries started to like noticing each other more and go into wars like neighbors do. They start invading each other, start fighting each other. No big deal until like late 16th century when they had a 24-year war, and that didn't end really well for either of them. But a couple of maybe 100 years before that, obviously in 1492, Spain discovered the Americas and became a global power. For the next 100 years, it dominated everything, and France was super jealous about that. And obviously, that made Spain into a global country, like a really, really powerful. Imagine, for 100 years, this country was not challenged. Like, they dominated everything. So I'm 40, and imagine during these 40 years, like USA has dominated everything. Another 60 years of absolute, not even like the way USA is dominating now, but absolute domination. Being the global language, being the currency, like dominating the trade, the incomes, everything, the fashion, everything, right? So Spain had that for over 100 years, maybe even more. And then France, little by little, with Jean Cartier, who discovered the Newfoundland, which is Canada, started actually catching up, right? So this made, like, by then, by the way, France was already quite powerful nation when Spain discovered the newfound lands, the new world. Spain was actually France was actually really powerful. They had a lot of money. They were really rich. They did a lot of wars. They were invaded by Vikings, Normans. They invaded the United Kingdom. They had a lot of power. So obviously, this Spanish dominance became as a shock to them. Fast forward to a little bit longer, and 1808. This is a key date, 1808. That's when Napoleon told the Spanish that I'm just going to cross Spain to conquer Portugal. Wink, wink. And the Spanish were like, fine, we're a freaking huge empire. Like, what do you want to do? Like, we don't want to have anything to do with your war, so just go ahead and take over our cousins who hate us. But obviously Napoleon didn't. He did a surprise with 70,000 soldiers. He took over Madrid and he sacked the king and installed his own brother as a king. And this obviously shocked the Spanish. And this didn't go down well at all. So Spanish were quite busy in the New World, like the Americas, the Latin America and all that stuff. So they were not super like fighting against this war of Napoleon so much because they were making so much money already. They had their own like a second Spain in Peru, and like it was called New Spain. It was a majority of the Latin America was that. So where I'm going to go with this is actually next. This word called guerrilla. Have you heard of it? Guerrilla, probably in English guerrilla, but it's not gorilla. Guerrilla. Spanish came up with that, and it meant little wars. So Spanish started doing these little guerrilla wars against Napoleon's troops. And year went by, and Spain was really taking French down. They were just like taking them down, surprising them everywhere, sabotaging them. Because obviously the French didn't speak Spanish. It's the most stupid thing, by the way, Napoleon ever did. Because why would you want to take over Spain? It makes no sense. It's a country that is all surrounded by water. It's a tremendously centralized country that actually can like kick your ass. And there's a lot of other things going on. So it was not a really like a good move from Napoleon. Actually, Napoleon called it his ulcer. Spain is my ulcer because that's what he felt like. Because the years went by and Spain was just kicking his ass, and eventually Napoleon departed from there, left Spain alone. Okay, so where am I going with this? I had to put a fan on because it gets really, really hot in this room. Okay, so Napoleon finally left Spain, and in 1808, that's the year that Spain has in their mind, and Spanish people have it in their mind ever since. So whenever I ask Spanish people, why do you hate French so much? It's mainly because of that incident. And because the Spanish people, French are super arrogant. And I think it's funny because French are definitely arrogant. All the neighbor countries say the same thing. They are arrogant because they are actually good at a lot of things. They're really good at fashion. They have huge fashion companies, LVMH. They basically invented modern fashion. They have massive organizations from Louis Vuitton to Chanel to Peugeot, Bugatti, massive companies that are doing really, really well. And also from the top 10 European countries, the companies, I think half of them are French. So like Airbus is French, for example. So France economically is much more stronger than Spain. And also traditionally France has been more innovative. So because it's been centralized country so well, so everything's been centralized in Paris. That's forever been like that, and that's why Paris is also one of the oldest cities in Europe, continuous capital cities in Europe, and it's everything centralized. Every other region in France is a department, whereas every other region in Spain is like an autonomous region or a state, that has their own autonomy, which I will I'll go to it later. But so the interesting thing about France is that although everything is centralized in Paris, all the innovation comes from Paris, all the execution, all the power, even their extraordinary seas, over the seas territories like Réunion Island next to Madagascar, or even Martinique in the Caribbean islands, or even their Wallis and Fortuna, which is next to New Zealand, and French Guiana, which is in South America. These are officially and completely ruled by Paris, and they have euro as their currency and Macron as the head of state. So Paris dominates France, and there's only one language, French. That's the only official language, French. Even if Corsica is part of France, they speak different language. It's French, okay? But Spain has a very different approach into this. So Spain, although Madrid is the capital city, is a very new capital city, only for like 500 years actually. It was made because it was protected so well by sea around, and it was right in the middle, so it had a lot of protection. So that made a lot of sense. And before that, it was Sevilla for a very, very long time. Actually, that's where the ships left to the New World. So Spain has taken a very different approach, which means that Spain has actually 4 official languages. They have Castilian Spanish, which is the actual Spanish, Espanol, which is Madrid and Salamanca and all these regions in the middle, all the way to Andalusia. And they have Galician, which is a northwest region, which is a really beautiful region, one of my favorite regions in the world. If you've never been in Galicia, you have to go. The food is so good. The language is amazing. They speak such cute language there, which sounds like Portuguese. To me, actually, Portuguese is the dialect of Galician. I know that's controversial, and I always say that to Portuguese people and they flip out, but that's true actually. Anyway, Galicia is just gorgeous. So many sand beaches and these caves and forests and rivers, and it's just a Celtic country. It's very Celtic. A lot of people came from Ireland. A lot of people came from Brittany. So a lot of different cultures came to Galicia. So it's a much more milder country, and its seafood is... Anyway, I can go on about Galicia as you can hear. So Galicia has its own language. That's an official language, and it is different to the Castilian Spanish. Then you have the Basque language. That is by far the strangest language in the world, because apparently there is no family of Basque language. Like, it's just so unique that they haven't actually found any family languages in it. It's really, really, really funny language, and not funny. It's a fantastic language. I love it. And many say that I was in my previous life a Basque person. Here's how Basque people say hello. They say hello, kaixo. Obviously, hola in Spanish and kaixo in Basque. And that's just the normal one. They have other ones. This is egunon, which is how are you, like what's up, egunon. And they say thank you is eskerikasko. How cool is that? Eskerikasko compared to gracias. And policia, police is ertzantza in Basque. It just absolutely love. You have to visit. It's just such a wonderful culture. They're so hardworking. There's only a few million of them, and for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years, they have avoided complete subjugation and capture by the Romans, by the Vikings, by the Normans, by the French, by the Spanish, by everyone. And they still kept their own identity even through the dictatorship, which I will talk about very, very soon. So, yeah, the Basque is the third language, and the fourth language is Catalan. The Catalan region is in the east coast of Spain, where Basque country is actually in the north coast of Spain. Catalan have tremendous amount of power in Spain because there's quite a lot of them. There are about 7 million of them. Basques, there are about 2.5, 3 million. Galicians, there are about 3 or 4 million. So Catalans are the biggest minority group in Spain. They have their own language, Catalan, which is very, very different. It's mixture of French and Spanish together, and it's actually spoken in parts of Europe, in Italy, in the islands of Mallorca, Ibiza. They also speak it. There's also some parts of France where you speak it because it was a very large merchant region in the past, and it used to trade a lot with the Italians and the Venetians. So, and obviously, capital city of Catalonia is super famous, if not the most famous city in the world. Barcelona, capital city of Basque country, by the way, is Bilbao. And the capital city of Galicia is Vigo, and obviously Castilian Spanish capital city is Madrid. And Catalans are really interesting people because they are very different to the rest of Spanish people. They're very much business oriented. They're much more straightforward. They are less humorous. They're less funny, and they're intermarriage a lot. They stay a lot together, and they're very much nationalistic. They love their culture. But there's a lot of Catalans that are 50% of the country that really are like super Spanish, and then the 50% are super Catalan. And there's also the matter of the independence, which we can talk about later. So these Pyrenees lines actually cuts through Catalan region, Aragon region in Spain, and the Basque region. So actually half the Basque region is in Spain, another half is in France. So there are a lot of commonalities between two regions. So yeah, Spain has 4 languages and France has 1. Spanish-speaking world is 700 million native speakers. Another 500 million people speak it as a second or third or fourth language, just like me. French is around 250, 300 million people. On top, another 200 million people who speak it as another language. Both are cultural powerhouses. Both are absolutely beautiful. Both are absolutely innovative. And both are crucial to Europe. You know, France is being the biggest country in Europe in terms of land, biggest economy also. No, actually, no. Germany is the biggest economy, and also it's the biggest tourism destination in the world. So over 120 million people visit France every year, which is, and another 90 million visit Spain, which is so these together are the top 2 of the most visited countries in Europe, in the world. So they matter. So I'm really interested in these two being forever because they're just next to each other, and they not just this, by the way. I think the point why it fascinates me also is that when you cross that border, you cross architecture, you cross music, you cross food, you cross a lot of different things. But what you don't separate, what unites these people is the love they have for sitting down and eating. Only the Italians and the Persians have this immense passion for eating. And this is what when cultures collide, and this is the beauty of the world. This is what I'm fascinated about, and I want to teach you also why it's so important. You see, the French and the Spanish inherit their food culture. They don't make it. It's not like they come up with it like, you know, the new countries like the Nordics or the Americans or the Latin Americans. They inherit it from their parents. The ingredients are right there. Everything grows in these 2 countries. They have a massive amount of geographical variations and diversity. Like, you know, France has everything, right? They have the North Coast, which has, you know, the beautiful beaches of Brittany and Normandy, to the mountains of Mont Blanc, which is the most beautiful mountain ranges I've ever seen in my life. They have these great areas of Provence. We have Saint-Tropez, they have Nice, they have Monaco, and all these areas. And they have incredible cities and architecture. So France is very diverse, and I'm only talking about mainland France, but also Spain is super diverse. They have the Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean, they have the open Atlantic Ocean, they have a lot of lakes, a lot of rivers, mountains, deserts, the list goes on, so both are super diverse. But what unites them is the passion and love for food. When you offer these people, when you see them eating, you feel like, okay, these guys are like brothers. They just speak the, let's say, different language. Like they're just brothers, basically. Almost. Okay. Probably the closer relationship within Spain is probably Spain, Italy, and France, probably also France, Italy. So they are those France and Italy are much closer than France, Spain, and Italy and Spain are much more closer than Spain and France. Actually, in my opinion, these are four romance brothers. So Portugal, Spain, Italy, and France. In my opinion, Portugal is like the quieter, introverted, slower, a little bit like more poorer, who used to be great at some point, brother of them all. And then you have this flamboyant brother like Italy, like he's just well dressed, super loud, funny, quite wealthy, always up for no good, always up for good times. Then you have France, which is this chic, educated, super intellectual, innovative, not daring, not afraid of trying new things, and very global mindset. Then you have Spain, which is this like fun brother, this global brother. He's traveled around the world. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to be with him and around him. He's not really good with money, but he makes money, but he's not really good with it. And everyone wants to be around him because he makes the music. He has the best, best clothes and stuff like that. So that's how I see Spain and all the three other ones. So I think then the part where it becomes over after that is like also the infrastructure. So I've heard a lot of times Spanish people say, oh, we envy the French infrastructure. It's like, why? You have such a good infrastructure. You have amazing train stations, amazing train network that is the envy of the rest of the world. You have the most high-speed tracks in the world after China, which is insane. The AVE train in Spain is amazing. It's affordable. It's very quick. It's always on time. TGV obviously is faster and has less tracks, but it's way faster. But yeah, it don't really have anything to envy about. Then they're like, oh, we envy also about like how precise they are and how innovative they are and how good at marketing they are. Yeah, because they're very self-conscious. They love themselves. They talk about themselves. And they're not afraid of talking on themselves, and they love their flag, they love the country. And this is where things become very different between these two countries. You see, Spain was under 50 years of absolute dictatorship by Francisco Franco, which was the military dictatorship. And it just ended in 80s. So around 82, 83, 84, Spain became free. And this empire, which huge empire, had 50 years of isolation, where its allies were like Nazi Germany and Italy and like dictatorships around the world. Nobody went to Spain. It was isolated. Whereas at the same time, France was this libertarian, free, global. Everyone was speaking French. It was a language of diplomacy. The music was French. Movies were French. People went there for dinners, for food. Michelin stars. Spain was none of that. So Spain had to catch up, and that makes a huge difference. You'll hear this a lot. Like Spanish people will say this a lot, is that they were under 50 years of dictatorship, so they're a little bit self-conscious about waving the flag and being nationalistic and being patriotic and being proud of being Spanish, which is absolutely insane, because I'm not Spanish and I'm just proud I know Spanish people. I think it's amazing culture. So many of us think the same, but they have to get out of this shelf. They have to get out of this, and they are with the new generation, the millennials, the generation, the younger ones they don't know anything about the dictatorship, so they're like, whatever, we're going. Rafael Nadal became a world champion. Then the football became world champions in football. That changed a lot of things, by the way, because they were like first time they're like waving the flags around and they're really proud and singing their national anthem. They were shouting. By the way, the national anthem of Spain doesn't have any lyrics. They couldn't agree on the lyrics. It's also another thing that French make fun of about Spanish people is that they just cannot agree on anything. They're chaotic, and in some ways that's true, but it's also in some ways that's the part I love about Spain, is that they speak on top of each other. They shout at each other, move their hands like this all the time, the shoulder movements. If you have a Spanish friend or family, check the shoulders. You know from far away they're Spanish if they keep moving the shoulders. Like, oh, they can't help it. No matter if they're Basque, Catalan, Asturian, Galician, Madrileño, they keep moving the shoulders. That's how you know. That's how you know Spanish. That's my tell. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, so Spain didn't have this patriotic feeling that France had for a long time, right? So France had this for centuries. They've been proud. They've been loud. They put their flag everywhere. They say "Made in France" and stuff. This is not common for Spaniards. Even today, they're like, oh, when I go to Spain, I'm like, oh, this is like made in Spain. Why doesn't it have the Spanish flag there? Everyone loves the Spanish flag. Why doesn't it have the Spanish flag? Why don't you put the Spanish flag on the olive oil? Why not? Now they're starting to do it because they're realizing, Jesus, that's really distinctive flag. It's a beautiful flag. We should do it. It's like, yeah, So that's also a huge part of what there's a envy from Spanish towards French, because they're so global minded. They're so quick on their feet. They have this machinery. They have centralized operations, everything from Paris. So they, it's a one rule, one guy, basically kind of thing, and have the marketing money goes to one department which then distributes it and gets things done. Spain is now picking that up, and he did that in record time. And in just about 30 years, Spain became the number 2 tourist destination in the world. And not just that, it became one of the top 20 economies from out of 6, if it was outside of 60 top, it became 20 top. Now it's 13th biggest economy in the world. Not bad for a country that was in such horrible dictatorship. And I'm telling you, dictatorship was so horrible, they have nothing to eat, these people. A lot of these people got executed. They were really in bad shape. They had nothing to eat, nothing to wear. For many, when I go back to Spain and I meet my friends' parents, they still remember. They're like, yeah, this is horrible. We didn't have anything to eat. We had to eat grass, sometimes our clothes. It was really that bad, right? And on top, they were persecuted. So when Franco died, there was this years of oh, what are we gonna do? And then the king stepped up, by the way, and then he's he will unite the country. That's why the old king is kind of still being revered as the savior of Spain, because he stepped up even when there was a coup d'etat actually attempt in '83, and he stopped it. Anyway, that's another story. So these are the reasons the Spanish and French don't get along, but actually French people really like the Spanish people. That's what I've been hearing from my French friends. They actually like the Spanish passion, the music. They love the reggaeton. They love the food. They love the drinks. They love the sangrias and tinto de veranos and all the calimocho. By the way, calimocho is amazing. Calimocho is it's Coca-Cola and wine, red wine mixed together with ice cubes. It's really good. Honestly, it's really good. I tried the first time. I was like, okay, and, interesting. It's really nice. And then you have cachopo, which is this insanely good meal. You have to try cachopo. It's these 2 steaks fried, and then between them there is this melted cheese with paprika and peppers and onions. It's glorious. It's not the healthiest thing you'll ever eat, but it'll be definitely the happiest meal you'll ever have. So the French have a lot of that not envy, but they admire Spain for that. They admire of their beautiful language. They want to speak it. It's also the country where French visit the most in the world. So that's known for the Spaniards. So people go to Spain a lot from France, and there's a lot of a lot of French football players play in La Liga. A lot of them speak very good Spanish, and even Didier Deschamps, who's the coach, they speak Spanish. A lot of them speak Spanish because either they play there or they love Spain. So there is this incredible friendly admiration for Spain from France, and vice versa there is as well. So that's what I like about these two neighbors. They are been for thousands of years sharing this border. They crisscross, they marry to each other. They have a very similar language, the alphabets and the grammar is very similar. They have a very global reputation. They're two of top four most famous countries in the world. Everyone wants to go there. Everyone wants to be there. You know, I want to be in either country. Like, so they don't really hate each other except when it comes to football. And this is where things get really interesting, because tonight is the match of Spain against France in the World Cup semifinals 2026. And Spain has been in the finals once. France has been in the finals like, I don't know, 5 times, and they won it 2 times already. So Spain is like, it's our turn, man. And no matter what happens, Spain has done really, really well. Like the coach is incredible, and the team is amazing. But what I want to talk about quickly is how to do business with these two countries besides football. That's what really interests me. Is like, how do you do business with French people? Okay, well, meetings in France are really interesting. What I realized is that you start with an agenda immediately. So you sit down, it's the hellos, pleasantries, blah, blah, blah. And then they immediately say, hey, this is the agenda of the meeting today. And they actually like insist that this meeting has a specific ending, not just like a loose ending. Like there's a specific end, and they will question everything you say if they're interested. So if they're not interested, and if you're talking in a meeting or you're pitching something, if the French person doesn't ask you a question or doesn't challenge you or doesn't annoy you, it means she or he not interested. If they're quiet, they're like, oh, this is très bien, merci beaucoup, and then you go. You never hear from them again. They're not interested. But if they push you, they challenge you, they cut you off, they're like, well, show me to this, show me that. That's a good sign. That's what French are. They want to challenge the intellectuality of the presenter or whoever it is. So it actually is a good thing. Now you know. And then during the meeting, they're also very, very authoritarian. So if there's a senior person, he's the one who speaks. Nobody else kind of like interrupts him. He's the guy who actually like they look up to, and he's the one who also runs the meeting, and he also says when the meeting ends. And immediately, like when the meeting ends, they're like, "Oh, this is what we talked about. Is it all clear? Should we then we'll follow up, and there will be a follow up in an email." Like, clear, right? Spanish, however, are a little bit different. By the way, in French, if the meeting starts at 5:00, it starts at 5:00. You know, like 5 minutes before you gotta be there. It's like quite German style. They're very precise actually with this. Spanish, however, a little bit different. Spain is more relationship based, whereas France is more merit and content based. Spain is like relationships first. Let's know each other more, understand each other more. I want to know you have kids. I want to know where you're from. I want to know where's your favorite football team. I want to know how did you get here? Did you walk here? Did you bike here? Did you fly here? How was that trip? Did you eat something? Did you have a coffee? You didn't have a coffee? You should have Spanish coffee. You never had Spanish coffee? Come on, I'll take you for Spanish coffee. You never had Spanish sweets? Come on, I'll take you for Spanish sweets. Bim, bam, boom, 20 minutes gone. Nothing is discussed yet. Not even a meeting. We're already outside in a bar somewhere at 12:00 and we're having coffee. Oh, and then it goes like, oh, you never had licor de hierbas? You know what's licor de hierbas? You go like, no, I don't know what's licor de hierbas. Suddenly you're drinking alcohol with him because he wants to show you. But this can be, by the way, any meeting from a CEO to like manager. This is exactly the kind of meetings I had in Spain all the time. And it's totally the way it is. And then after 20-30 minutes, they go like, yeah, all right, let's go back to the office and talk business. And then you walk back and they still haven't talked any business. And you should not bring up any business if they don't bring it up. That's important. That's one of my mistakes I did in Spain a lot in the beginning. It's like, I would be the one who's like, okay, well, let's talk about business. So we want to sell this. It's like, that was a huge mistake. I wish someone told me this, what I'm telling you. Me of 10 years ago, I would have made much more money. Don't bring up business until they do. And when they do it, just answer the questions very, very briefly because they are listening like 20% of it. Other part of it, they're just thinking what to say next. And then they're like thinking about something else, like football or the dinner tonight or something else. So their window of listening is very, very sharp, very, very limited like this. Whereas French is like listening half. And the other half is like they're thinking about how cool they are or how cool French are, or they're thinking about something else. And also like, oh, they're judging you in their minds. But they're listening half of it. Whereas in Spain, they're listening like 20-30% maximum. And then once you walk back to the office or you finally have started there, You sit down, they start conversation. Maybe the jackets come off, like another cup of coffee comes in, and then they'll still talk about something personal. Maybe the last 10 minutes is actually about business. Maybe the last minute, like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and you're never gonna close whatever that is in that meeting. There's always gonna be another meeting about the first meeting, but that's part of the culture in Spain. You need to understand how to do the relationships in there. How these relationships forms are that he or she needs to see you at least 3 times before they trust you. That's totally normal. This is a multi-active country, which means a country that is always doing something. They are passionate about their family, passionate about their country, passionate about their friends, and are very, very passionate about their free time and being together. So, and they do many things at the same time. France is also multi-active, but they're less multi-active. They're not like hardcore like Latinas or like Spanish or Italians, but they're less so. But still, they are multi-actives. But Spain is like really great example. They're similar to like Brazilians or Mexicans or Persians or Greeks or Middle Easterns. They think many things at the same time, so you need to keep their attention. But essentially, it's all about the touching, the family, the passion, the food, the enjoying. Now, talking about business. And I really wish I knew this. I really, really wish I knew this. Now I go back in time, I'm like, fuck, the amount of time I fucked up because I didn't know this simple thing. And eventually, like after the meeting, you'll shake hands, or if it's a woman, you might give 2 kisses. You have to be careful with that. By the way, the kisses are just scraping here; they're not actually locking lips here. So like that. Don't actually like kiss. That's no. And then you shake hands and like that, and then you leave when they like either escort you out or when they ask you to go out and stuff like that. And then you follow up with a thank you note, and still don't talk about business until they approach you. So that, in a sense, is a business meeting culture in Spain. And in France, it's just like there's multiple people in the room, personal assistants of the personal assistant, etc. Whereas in Spain, it's like maybe 1 or 2 people, and then they will eventually get it done. But don't expect anything to get done in Spain until like the 5th meeting. My experience was like 5th meeting was the key. Like the 4 first ones, they're testing you. Actually, first one, they're testing you to see if you're like another English or American guy who just comes and says what to do, and just gives an agenda. The second one is they're gonna like finding out if you're still game, like if you're still like a real deal. The third one, they already made some background checks on you, so they're gonna ask you more and understand more about you and the company and your role and what brings you here. That's the third meeting. Fourth one is actually like, okay, what you want? Okay, this is what we want. Okay, what you want? Okay, this is what we want. Okay, great, what you want? Let's go for lunch. Let's go for coffee. Let's go. And the 5th one, when they invite you back, is when they actually want to do something. Whereas in Spain, France, this all will be in like 2 meetings, a few emails, a lot of emails. They do more emails. Spain doesn't do it. So that's how they're different in a business meeting scenario. Whereas then there's like other things. For example, like Spanish people love to be praised in public. They're like, French people love to be praised in public. But they also like to be criticized, give criticism in public. Don't criticize the Spanish ever in public. Never. French, okay, but for Spain, never. You will never. That person will never forget you criticize them. You will never come back to it from it. So don't criticize in public the Spanish people. Be always positive about them. Praise them, even if they did a shit job. And then one-on-one, you can tell them, look, I know you did great, but these are some things I want you to improve. Here are the things. What do you think? Because they're confrontational people. They're impulsive people, especially the people from south of Spain, especially people who are east, like the Valencians, and especially people who are from Madrid. They're like really impulsive, and they will jump on you. No, so understand that culture, Whereas Basque people, it can be just straightforward. This is the direct. They're like the Dutch people of Spain, So these 2 cultures are fascinating to me. That's why this match today is not enemies, it's mainly frenemies. They're friends, they're brothers. They're like, Spain has only three neighbors. You have Spain has 3 neighbors: Portugal, France, Morocco. That's it. doesn't have other neighbors. France has plenty. You know, it has plenty other neighbors. It has Belgium, it has Germany, UK, it has Italy, it has Monaco, it has Spain, it has so many, Switzerland, many others, I guess. Brazil, it has New Zealand, it has other ones, right? Spain is not like that. Spain is, it just has three. It has just three. So that's why it has a very good relationship with France economically as well. Okay, so I think this should make you understand it's coming all from my heart because I really like these two countries. And no matter, I want Spain obviously to win because my heart is español. Me encanta mucho España. Pero vamos a ver. Let's see what happens. Hopefully this video made any sense. If it made it, I'm actually I will write this all into like a nice framework, a beautiful framework. So if you want that, just comment framework. If you're still watching this, comment framework in the channel, and I'll make sure to send it to you for free. Until next time.